Radical Red is the creme de la creme of Pokemon Fire Red Nuzlockes. It takes the original Fire Red game and adds a huge amount of content, such as all Pokemon from Generation 1 to 9, with updated stats and new abilities to nearly all of them, along with a slightly new story with many plot twists. On top of all of this, as the name suggests, the difficulty is radical. Every trainer has updated teams that can be brutal to fight if you aren't expecting them, and many new fights have been added that are nowhere near easy. Knowing all of this, I decided to attempt a hardcore Nuzlocke of it, with the classic rules as always. I'm Waterbird, and I drive a 2023 Chevrolet Camaro, and this is the story of how I tried to conquer the hardest Generation 3 ROM hack of all time. Let's get right into it. To start off, we have to pick a starter. Radical Red lets us choose any starter from any generation that we'd like, giving us many good options to choose from. I've noticed many people like to pick Sprigatito and Froakie for the protein ability, or Litten to obtain the King of Double Battles in Cinnabar, but I decided to do something different. I chose to use one of my favorite starters of all time from when I was a kid, a starter that I think is very underrated in Radical Red as well, my boy Turtwig. Turtwig's bulk and typing will help us get through the first two gyms fairly easy, and I feel Torterra can make very good use of two of its three abilities, but more on that later. Our rival picks Charmander, and we defeat him in a tackle versus scratch battle and move on past Pallet Town. We head up the first route to Cerulean City, where just like the original game, we collect Oak's Parcel from the Pokemark and bring it back down to Pallet Town for him. With our Pokeballs collected, the run begins. We head back out of Pallet Town to Route 1 and we catch an Alolan Rattata. And then we head back to Viridian Town and we get the fishing rod from a fishing guru. We immediately use it at the lake right below the guru and catch a Marill. And while we didn't get one with the ability Huge Power, it's still a great Pokemon to have for Brock. Right after, we go straight to Route 22 and we catch a Panpour, which is a 1% encounter chance as it's another great Pokemon for Brock. On Route 2, we catch a Meditate and we head into Viridian Forest. And here, we get very lucky with another 1% encounter, a Snom. Snom can evolve into Frostmoth extremely early, giving us a 480 BST Pokemon that can carry us through some of these early game fights with its unique typing. As we progress through the forest, any person who's played the traditional Fire Red would be surprised by one of Radical Red's biggest changes, Brendan. As I mentioned earlier, Radical Red changes a lot of the story and adds extra fights, and this includes a second rival in addition to our normal nemesis. Brendan isn't a problem here as our Turtwig one-shots his core fish with the Razor Leaf, and Frostmoth does the same to Trico with the Struggle Bug. Be aware though, his team will indeed get stronger later. Trainer Lassanne is the last trainer in the forest and her team is also different and improved. Although it's not enough from a Meditate, what's hard counters her team with the Force Palm. Was Anne defeated, we make our way into Pewter City. We buy an egg from an old man and we hatch it to see one of my favorite stars of all time and a Pokemon that likes to show up on my Nuzlockes often, a Mudkip. I'm liking my chances of getting past Brock a lot now. Speaking of Brock, when we walk up to the gym, it's not open. That's weird. I investigate the museum and we find our culprit, which happens to be another Radical Red surprise. Faulkner, the first Johto gym leader, awaits us in the museum, and all of the gym leaders from Johto make their appearance in this game, and while not all of them are required, most do give rewards if you choose to battle and defeat them. Faulkner's team of 3 can be scary if you aren't prepared, but trust me when I say we are. I lead Blizzy against Rufflet and take him out with an Icy Wind, bringing in Flittle. Flittle moves first with a Psybeam, but it does barely any damage and a Struggle Bug deletes the Flittle. Faulkner's Watchful comes in, and after taking an Air Slash, Blizzy kills it with a single Icy Wind, showing the power of the 1% chance Snom. We go back to the Poke Center, and now we have nothing more to do than to enter the now accessible first gym. Brock is the first real test of whether or not your run truly turns into a real run, and his team is the reason why. Brock has 4 Pokemon, which are all considerably bulky and dangerous. His 2 main threats are Onix, and for us, Varoom, who has the ability Filter, which reduces super effective damage. I don't really have any great counter to Varoom yet, so we just have to take him down tactically. In Onix, he can be pretty bulky with Sturdy, but I'm confident the amount of counters we have to him can take him down. I take note that Geodude has Self-Destruct and Varoom has some toxic shenanigans, and we prepare our team. Once we're ready, we face down Brock eye to eye, and we start the battle. Brock leads his Alolan Geodude against our Turtwig, and I immediately go for Razor Leaf, bringing him down to yellow, while getting hit by a Rock Tomb in return. I go for another Razor Leaf, but Geodude eats his Custard Berry to switch out and Varoom comes in, taking virtually no damage but losing his Air Balloon. I switch to Blizzy who takes a Toxic on switching, and I go for an Icy Wind. Despite not being very effective, it still does good damage, but I get hit by a Gyro Ball, bringing me down to yellow and proccing my berry. I switch again to Panpour, and a Water Pulse brings the Varoom down to 1 HP, letting it live while he throws a Toxic at us. Another Water Pulse finally brings Brock's first Pokemon down, and Onix comes in next. I go for another Water Pulse, which procs Onix's Sturdy and confuses him. His berry juice heals him to half health, and sadly the confusion does not work as he uses his bulldoze, lowering my speed and proccing my berry too. Onyx moves first now, but I watch as he hits himself in confusion, and my water pulse takes him out. Archer makes his way in as I switch to Garfield the Mudkip, who takes a good chunk of damage on switching. Another pluck takes me down to yellow, but my brine one-shots the Archon, bringing back in the Geodude from the start of the battle. Knowing I'm faster, I go for a single brine to take out the Geodude, and we get our first gym badge, Deathless. We need as many good battles as we can this run because it only gets harder from here. After the gym, we level all our Pokemon and we evolve our 2 starters while we're at it. Route 3 is ahead, and we battle through a few trainers on the route with ease as they pose no threat to our upgraded Pokemon. Along the route, we cut to Nidoran, and we name him Posty, and immediately after on Route 4, we cut to Mareep. From here, we head into Mount Moon, and here, we encounter a Torkoal, an amazing Pokemon known for its ability which we can't actually use until later, Drought. On the same floor, we pick up a Moonstone and we evolve that lucky Nidoran we just got into a Nidoqueen, which is another early fully evolved Pokemon that we can use to our liking. Mount Moon stays mostly true to the OG Fire Red. We defeat some Team Rocket members and we arrive at a scientist who wants to take both of the fossils. But when we battle him, we see that he has a completely upgraded team along with it being a double battle. I lead Legend and Blizzy, and Flocky fake outs my Growtile while Voltorb attacks it with a hidden power. But I've made my Growtile so bulky that they barely scratch him. Blizzy goes for an Ice Wind, bringing both Pokemon extremely low, and the grassy terrain combined with the self-sufficient heals my Growtile for a lot. The next turn, Blizzy's Icy Wind takes out both the enemy Pokemon, bringing in Sableye and Bibarel. Growtile gets Will-O-Wisp, and Blizzy continues to spam Icy Wind to do decent damage and to also proc Sableye's Citrus Berry. A Razor Leaf brings both Sableye and Bibarel lower, and the turn ends with Bibarel using Curse to buff himself. It doesn't matter at all though, as a Struggle Bud plus a Razor Leaf takes both of his Pokemon out, winning us the battle. We take the Helix Fossil and we head to the end of the cave. But as we're exiting it, we get flanked by Team Rocket, Adamant, Archer, a new addition to Radical Red. He leads Glamet against my Marshtomp and I go for a Bulldoze, one hit killing it while its ability activates, spreading toxic spikes. Mariana comes in and he howls, buffing his attack as I go for another Bulldoze, taking a little chunk of his health. I switch to Bipolar to Eradicate and he gets poisoned, and Mariana howls again, buffing his attack even more. I go for a Hyper Fang immediately, trying to kill this Mariana before it gets too problematic, but he lives on 1 HP and his juice revives him a little bit. He Ice Fangs me in return, and luckily it does not kill, and another Hyper Fang takes him out. Archer's last Pokemon, Houndour, comes in. I need to switch so I don't lose my Eradicate, so I switch in Posty, the Nidoqueen. Houndour goes for an Incinerate, which does absolutely nothing but burn my berry, and a double kick takes it down, winning us the fight. We finally make it out of the cave, and our level cap is raised to 27. We arrive at Cerulean City, and now it's time to prepare for our first proper fight against our rival. Gary's packing a team of 4, with an Eviolite Charmeleon being his biggest threat. He also has a pretty annoying Staravia with Intimidate and U-Turn, and a Kirlia that we don't really have an answer to, but it's pretty weak so we should be fine. We prepare, and then we head up to the bridge and we start the battle. He leads Kirlia against Blizzy. He immediately retreats Kirlia and sends in Charmeleon, who tanks an Aurora Beam that does very little damage to him. I switch to Garfield so Frostmoth doesn't die, and I go for a Water Gun, which despite it being super effective, it nowhere near kills him thanks to the Eviolite. I go for a Brine, but he switches out Charmeleon into Pawniard, who gets hit by the Brine and goes down to half HP. Pawniard goes for a knockoff which nearly kills Marshtomp, and I go for another Brine which doesn't get the kill. I'm forced to switch so I don't lose Marshtomp, so I go to Posty. Before finally killing this Pawniard with a double kick, I get hit by a knockoff which takes a good chunk of my Nidoqueen's health away. Charmeleon comes back in, and I keep Nidoqueen in, who takes a Flame Burst and then goes for a double kick which also poisons Charmeleon thanks to Poison Touch. I switch to Meditate, who lives a big hit from the Flame Burst, and then Charmeleon dies to the poison. Staravia comes in and I go for a Fake Out before switching to Eradicate. A single Hyper Fang kills the Staravia, bringing back in the Kirlia. I switch to Blizzy and we finish off the Kirlia with 2 Aurora Beams, defeating our rival for now. And even though we defeated our rival, Nugget Bridge is arguably harder. Each trainer has an upgraded team of 3 Pokemon that have pretty good synergy with each other, and the first 3 trainers are all double battles. I slowly take down each one with success, such as using strategies like Sword Dance Eradicate to blast through the entire last 2 teams, with a tanky Greedout in the first and a Mabostiff in the second, and we arrive at the final mini-boss trainer at the end, a grunt who tries to recruit us to Team Rocket. We battle him, leading Garfield against Grouthy, who switches to Kamala to avoid a Bulldoze. I switch to Posty and we use a double kick to bring the Kamala down really low, and another one kills him after he used the last resort. Grouthy comes back in, so I send an Eradicate in with him, who takes him out with 2 Hyper Fangs. Eradicate did take a ton of damage in return. A scary Eevee-like Gabite comes in, so I switch in Blizzy, who takes a little bit of damage from Bulldoze. What happens next is that I forget Frostmoth is actually slower than Gabite, and he rock slides the Frostmoth, who falls to 0 HP, making me lose my first Pokemon of the run, and a strong one at that. Rest in peace, Glizzy. Legend comes in next, and I go for a curse to buff myself as the Gabite switches out into Togedemaru. Togedemaru goes for an Iron Head, but it does nothing and a Bulldoze immediately takes him out. Next turn the Gabite comes back to the field and 2 Seed Bombs take him out as the last hit was a crit. With the Grunt being defeated, we head to the left of the bridge and we catch the Yamper, and then head north to the Route 25 to catch a Carablast. We head to Bill's house and we save him, getting our SSN ticket, and next is Misty's gym. Misty's team threats can be pretty annoying, as he has an Eviolite user Frogadier, who has nice coverage moves for his counters, and along with his protein ability that lets him change his typing, can make this Frogadier pretty tanky and dangerous. Her team also features a pretty fat Clodsire, and of course, her signature Starmie. This thing is a beast and can wipe your team if you're not careful. With her preparation done, I go into the battle. She leads Frogadier into my Eradicate, and I immediately go for a Swords Dance while he goes for an Ice Punch. The next turn he goes for another Ice Punch which frostbites me, and I go for another Sword Dance. Finally, I attack with a Hyper Fang, but Frogadier hits me with a flip turn and it crits, luckily not killing me. But surprisingly, Misty sent in her ace, and the Starmie takes the Hyper Fang and dies in a single hit. Floatzel comes in, and I know my 8 HP Eradicate stands no chance against him, so I make the tough decision of letting Floatzel kill it so I can get a free switch in. He did his job by taking out Starmie, which is more than enough, and after he falls, I sit in Doggy. I go for a Thunder Fang and it one-shots the Floatzel, making Eradicate's sacrifice well worth it. Clodsire makes his way in, and I switch to Legend. In the following turn, Clodsire uses a Poison Jab and it crits, scaring me as Grotile thankfully lives at 13 HP thanks to its bulk. My Bulldoze hits and I switch to Nidoqueen, who after a few hits doesn't do much, and Clodsire recovers, so I have to switch to Garfield. This time my Bulldoze critical hits him, but it doesn't kill, and a Bulldoze brings Garfield even lower. Garfield goes for another Bulldoze, but Misty switches out Clodsire and brings in Frogadier again. He takes the Bulldoze and I go to Doggy, who gets hit by a Grass Knot. Frogadier is not grass, so I go for a Bite, which is a good chunk of damage, and another Bite takes him down. Clodsire comes back in, and I go to Garfield, who takes him down with the Bulldoze, winning us our second gym badge. After the gym, we take out the Grunt and Dig House with no problem, and we go down to Route 5. We cut some Moralo here, and we go to the Route 6 to reach Cerulean City. The first thing I do here is we use the Good Rod and we encounter a Foolish, which we catch. And next I go to Diglett Cave and we catch a Gligar. I head down to the SSN, and right before we enter, we fish again and we find a Veluza. With our water encounters done, we go into the ship, and here we have 2 dangerous double battles. And while the first one goes completely fine for us, the one I want to talk about is the second double battle. Sailors Edmund and Trevor make a dangerous combo, as despite me having a good amount of counters to water Pokemon, his Pokemon are tanky beasts that will have amazing coverage moves. His Leap has the ability Storm Drain. Combined with an Eviolite, it sits on the field just to annoy us, while the rest of their teams are there to kill us while being tanky with their berries and a Focus Sash to make it difficult to remove them. I lead Boomy and Tate and fake out the Cramorant to take out his Focus Sash, and we kill him with a Rock Tomb. The next turn I focus a Leap with the Rock Tomb and a Force Palm, and my Pokemon get even lower from their attacks. Nidoqueen goes for a Scorching Sands after leaving Meditite at 1 HP, and the Force Palm takes out his tanky Leap, bringing in Lumineon. I switch out Meditite for Legend, who tanks a Scald, and Bloomy torments Nidoqueen. The Lumineon takes out Bloomy with a Scald, and Grotile goes for a Lead Seed on Nidoqueen. My Ampharos enters the battlefield, and Lumineon uses an Ice Beam on Legend. Nidoqueen also focuses him with a critical Scorching Sands, and Legend is still only at yellow, showing the value of picking him as our starter. Fluffy uses an Electro Ball, leaving Lumineon at 1 HP, and a Seed Bomb takes out this Nidoqueen. The next turn I switch out Legend to Dreadnought, while Ampharos kills a Lumineon with a Volt Switch. Tatsugiri is the last Pokemon, and a Fake Out Rock Tomb combo brings him down to yellow, with the second Rock Tomb beating these scary sailors. And they weren't even the final boss of this SSN. We head to the top of the ship, and while you all expected to see our rival, Brendan makes his second appearance and battles us with an upgraded version of his team. We lead Tate against Loudred, and a Fake Out Force Palm combo nearly kills him because of a crit, and Loudred responds with a Hyper Voice proccing our berry. Another Force Palm kills, bringing in Lunatone, and I send Legend in to Seed Bomb the Lunatone, who lives on a single HP as he Calm Minds. The next turn a Power Gem nearly kills our tanky Grotile, but thankfully it wasn't enough and we take out the Lunatone. Brennan sends in Grovyle and I go to Posty. Grovyle uses Power Up Punches which do absolutely nothing, and I slowly lower him with the Poison Sting until I finally get a critical hit and he falls. Brennan's last Pokemon Crawdont comes in, and I go for a double kick which brings him down to half HP and poisons him. Crawdont uses Surf, and it kills. I didn't expect him to do that much damage, and I lose my Nidoqueen. Another Pokemon that has been very helpful to me is now gone. Doggy comes in and takes the Crawdont out, and we win the battle. These unexpected kills are starting to scare me, and I need to be more careful, especially in the next fight. Lieutenant Surge is the first real big difficulty jump and early threat in my opinion. He has a team of 5 dangerous Pokemon that all have really good synergy with each other, and he can easily kill 1 or 2 Pokemon if you're not careful. Pincurina is his lead because it has Electric Surge, an ability that basically sets up electric terrain for him permanently as he has a terrain extender item. He has major attack threats with a huge special attack Vikavolt, a Bella Bolt which can be tricky with its ability, and a speedy Palmont. But his biggest threat is easily Mega Manectric. The start of every gym leader having a Mega while we don't begins now. We lead Legend against Pincherin, who sets up the electric terrain, and I go for a Seed Bomb lowering its health to yellow. He hits me for a super effective type Hidden Power, which does a good amount of damage, and the next turn I take him out. Vikavolt comes in and I switch to Torkoal, who uses a Lava Plume to take Vikavolt down to half HP. And I know he's going to go for a Mud Shot, so I switch to Gligar, who's immune, and then we use a U-turn to switch to Fluffy. He switches out as I go for a Power Gem into Billabult, who takes a small bit of damage from it. I switch to Garfield in response, who's immune to electric, so Parabolic Charge becomes useless, and his terrain disappears at the end of the turn. Use a flip turn to switch to Legend, who takes practically 0 damage with his self-sufficient, and I go for a Bulldoze to lower this tanky Billabult even more. Now I switch back to Garfield, who's immune again, to do another flip turn. We switch back to Legend, and then we go back to Garfield one last time to finish him off with another flip turn, and this gives us a free switch in to Meditate. His Ace Manectric comes in, and Mega evolves in our face as he gets hit by our Fake Out. I switch in Gligar for free since he's immune to Charge Beam, and Batman the Gligar takes a Flame Burst and then digs, and the dig brings Manectric down to red. He tanks another Flame Burst, and a second dig takes out the Mega pretty easily. Vikavolt returns, and I use a U-turn to bring him down to red while switching in Fluffy. When Fluffy comes in, he gets hit by a Bug Buzz, and I watch as his health bar goes down to 0. It was a critical hit that was very unlucky. I switch to Meditate and use a Fake Out, and the next turn Force Palm to kill the Vikavolt. Cerulean's last Pokemon, Palmont, makes its way in, and I feel like I will live all of his moves, so I click Force Palm and take the hit, living at 7 HP. My Force Palm does a good chunk of his health, and I switch to Garfield next turn, who takes a Mach Punch. Palmont uses a Drain Punch, which takes a lot of my health, and my Brine does virtually nothing thanks to his heal. This is not looking good, as all my Pokemon in the back are severely injured. I switch to Gligar, who takes a little bit of damage on switching, and then we click Dig, but Palmont gets way faster than us, so I knew Gligar would die. I switched in Legend with one goal in mind: Leech Seed him. I use it and we get hit by an Ice Punch, living at 4 HP. If he died, the run would have 100% been over, and Leech Seed connects. I'm very low and I'll die to another Ice Punch, and I know no matter what Pokemon I switch in it will die, so I have to make another hard choice. I switch to Meditate, who takes the Ice Punch, and he dies. 3 Pokemon down, but now I know I have a small chance with a Leech Seed up. I got a Torkoal and use a Detect to get some of the Leech Seed heal, and now I close my eyes and I click Lava Plume. He hits us with a Drain Punch, and we live at 2 HP. Our Lava Plume connects and brings him down to 1 HP, but it's just enough to kill as he gets burned and Leech Seed was up. We won, but that was way too risky for my liking. 3 Pokemon did, and the run was barely saved by some lucky rolls. It only gets harder from here, so I need to focus. After the gym, we have a lot to do on the way to the next gym. Our first thing, of course, is we level up the Pokemon we have left, giving us our fully evolved version of our starters, which grants us a big power spike. We go through Route 9, battling through the trainers with their slightly threatening Pokemon, such as the Sneasel. I also skipped the encounter on this route for now, and you'll see why in a bit. On Route 10, we encounter a Skitty, and then we head into the Long Rock Tunnel. Here, we catch a Lunatone and march through the darkness that I've memorized by now since I've gone through this cave so many times as a kid without Flash. By the way, if you're liking the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. And also, feel free to support me on Patreon as well, for extra benefits and your name at the end of my videos. It all really helps out a lot, so thank you. After we make it out of the cave, we go to Lavender Town to Route 8, and here we do some Dynamax battles which were added to Radical Red to obtain items that we'll use in just a sec. I go into Celadon City, and we head into the building where the woman gives us tea. Here we can use shards, which are the items I just got from the Dynamax battles. You can redeem either a red, green, or blue shard for a starter egg of the type of the shard you just gave. I redeemed 2 red shards and 1 blue, and we hatched them in the 3 routes that we never caught a Pokemon on. Take note that I'm still saving my Celadon City encounter for later, as we can get one of several strong Pokemon. Hatching our eggs give us a Scorbunny, a Tepig, and a Squirtle, which are all pretty good pickups. We evolve all our Pokemon, and I head into Saffron City real quick to pick up some ability pills and dream patches, which finally let us choose the better abilities of our Pokemon like Torkoal. Now, we prepare for Erika. Erika's team is based around grassy terrain, which is set by her lead Rillaboom. She has several hard hitters like Life Orb, Hisuian Electrode, and Meowscarada, along with 2 bulky, strong-hitting Pokemon, Mega Venusaur and Grassy Seed Megadium. Despite all this, I think the 2 fire types I just got, plus my Torkoal, can make this fight easier. I just have to execute. We get to Erika and we begin the battle, leading Alfrando the Cinderace against her Rillaboom, who sets the grassy terrain. I go for a Pyro Ball immediately, which one-shots the Rillaboom, taking him out quick, bringing the Meowscarada in. She goes for a knockoff which takes Alfredo to half, and my Power Ball does not kill her because Protein changed her type to Dark. I switch to Torkoal, who sets up the Sun and gets hit by U-turn for nothing as Erika switches in Electrode. Electrode goes for a Chlorobast which does a lot of damage, but he's hit in return by my Lava Plume which kills him. A shiny Meganium enters the field and I switch in Diva the Imbor. He goes for a Dazzling Gleam, taking a chunk of my health, and my Heat Crush does about the same to her even with the Sun, showing how tanky that Meganium is. Luckily, I also have a Flamethrower, which is a special attack and takes her out the next turn. Venusaur comes in and I go to Escavalier as he Mega Evolves and hits me with an Earth Power. The grassy terrain expires and I avoid a Sleep Powder to ship him with an X-Scissor. Next turn, a Sleep Powder does hit me, but I brought a Chesto Berry for this exact reason, which wakes me up and I hit him with another X-Scissor. I go for a final X-Scissor to try to kill him, but another Sleep Powder connects, putting me to sleep. It took me 2 turns and barely losing a Escavalier to wake him up, but he finally does wake and kills the Venusaur with the final X-Scissor. Erika's final Pokemon, the wounded Meowscarada, comes in, who falls to a Gunk Shot from a Lowland Muck. We announce the battle with no deaths. A very nice fight. After Erika, we have to go on a dangerous gauntlet to the first Giovanni fight, which is another big difficulty spike as you'll see. Because of this, I decide it's time to use my Celadon City encounter, which is in the game corner. Here we can redeem Casino currency for a pre-evolution to several powerful Pokemon, such as Dragonite, Tyranitar, and Salamence, all very useful pseudo-legendaries. This is a very hard choice to make as we only get to pick one, and it has to be a Pokemon that can make a major impact for the rest of the game, which means it has to fill all the weaknesses on our team. In the end, after a lot of thinking, I choose to go with Metagross. Metagross is a very good defensive Pokemon as it has 9 hull resistances and 1 immunity thanks to its unique typing, but it can also hit very hard in Radical Red as Tough Claws is now its hidden ability on the non-Mega form. It having a Mega evolution is also really nice to have, as you can see that the stat increases over the base form are insane. A downside is that the Mega still keeps the same ability Tough Claws, which we already have now, and we can't actually get the Mega Stone until Victory Road. Despite this, I'm putting all my coins in Metagross to carry us through the rest of the game. We head into the casino and we take out the Grunt guarding the entrance to Team Rocket's secret hideout, and blasting many Team Rocket members, getting the card to the elevator in the process. We defeat the 2 guards guarding Giovanni, with one of them having a cool team featuring the Galarian Weezing Slacking combo, and then we arrive at Giovanni. Giovanni's team is frightening. He is the first trainer to have a full team of 6 Pokemon, packing several big threats that can end your run. While he keeps his ace from the original game Nidoking, his real ace is now Mega Kangaskhan, one of the greatest Megas of all time. This thing has a signature moveset from the days of its reign of terror, and it's backed up by a very tanky Earthworm with Body Press. After a decent amount of planning, we start the battle leading Garfield against Nidoking. Nidoking immediately switches to Kangaskhan, who gets hit by my flip turn, which takes a good chunk of his health, and I send Alfredo in while the Kangaskhan Mega Evolves, going for a Fake Out which takes nearly half my health with a double hit. I use a Pyro Ball next turn, bringing the Kangaskhan to yellow, and I get hit by a Body Slam in return. My Berry barely saves me and I'm faster, so my Pyro Ball secures the kill next turn. Earthworm enters and I switch to Torterra, who tanks a Body Press. Then the Earthworm shed tails to Veluza and the substitute gets broken by my Earthquake. Veluza uses Fill It Away, buffing himself, but he basically kills himself as he takes half his health and my Seed Bomb finishes him off. Giovanni's Honchkrow comes in and I switch to the dog, who gets hit by a crit on Switsin. And I try to go for a play rough, but he switches into Nidoking, who takes almost no damage from it. I go to Garfield, who also takes a critical hit and switch in, and go for a Brine, which brings Nidoking very low. I need to switch as Swampert's nearly did, so I go to Blastoise, whose Fake Out barely doesn't kill. I know the Nidoking is going to use a Thunderbolt since it sees a kill with it, so I go to Torterra real quick, who's immune, and then switch back right to Blastoise, who gets the kill with the Fake Out. Honchkrow comes back in, and I throw an Icy Wind, taking it down to half, and then we switch to our newly obtained Metagross. And the game didn't let me give him a nickname, so I'm just going to call him Meta. He goes for a Meteor Mass, which kills the Honchkrow and brings in Infernape. And I quickly realize that I'm in a terrible spot, as he can one-shot Metagross and probably literally everything I switch into. I send in Doggy one last time, as I need a hero to keep this run alive. When he watches his Pyro Ball, takes him out. After his death, I switch in Torterra, which looks dangerous, but I believe that he can take a Pyro Ball. But instead, the Infernape sword dances in front of us, and I use an Earthquake, breaking his Focus Sash. I sadly realize I need to sacrifice another Pokemon to live this, and of all the amazing Pokemon left in this team, I decided on Cinderace. I do wish I found a way to prevent this. Blastoise comes in to finish off Infernape with the Fake Out, and the Earthworm enters again. Torterra lead seats him after taking 2 Body Presses, and I switch to Metagross to secure the kill, winning us our first Giovanni battle, barely. After the hideout, we can go back to Lavender Town and clear the tower. Radical Red removed the rival fight here, so we proceed up the tower, and I accidentally forget to use an Ether, so I encounter a Cubone when we could have saved the encounter for the Alolan Marowak, but it's okay because we have a Cubone and it evolves to that anyway. The 3 grunts at the top of the tower are no problem to us, and we get the Poke Flute from Fuji. Now I fly back to Route 16 where the sleeping Snorlax is and we catch it, giving us another strong encounter. Route 12 gives us the greatest Pokemon of all time, and now the game differs from the normal routine. When we attempt to go past Route 16 to the biker route, the cop says we have to get Sabrina's badge first, meaning we have to clear Silph Co now. I enter the skyscraper and quickly get the keycard with muscle memory, and we use it to head through a teleporter to our rival. He's learned what Mega Evolution is before us and has a nice well-balanced team, now also packing a Mega Charizard Y. I lead Metagross against his Staraptor and take it out immediately with a Thunder Punch despite me getting intimidated. Jumpluff enters and actually sword dances, but 2 Meteor Mashes take it out while we tank a sword boosted double edge pretty well. The Charizard comes in and I switch to Garfield as he sets up the sun with his Mega Evolution. I know 100% he's going to use a Solar Beam to try to kill Swampert, so I switch to Azumarill, who has a Sap Sipper to absorb any grass moves, an ability I gave it just for this. Charizard goes for an Air Slash, bringing Boba down to half, and we do the same to him with an Aqua Tail. He uses another one, leaving me at 20 HP, and he lives in red from another Aqua Tail. Luckily, I have an Aqua Jet, so I always move first and we kill the Charizard, bringing in an angry King Gambit. I switch to Diva as the King Gambit sword dances, making me slightly worried. We use a jump kick and the King Gambit barely lives it thanks to his Chople Berry, and luckily his knockoff doesn't critical hit, so Imbor is fine. I know he's going to go for a Sucker Punch to try to kill us next turn, so I switch to a Azumarill for free. Aqua Jet takes another kill this fight, and our rival sends out an Azumarill of his own. I go to Swampert, and then we flip turn to Torterra, who takes the kill with the Seed Bomb, winning us the fight. We get the traditional Silph Co Lapras and continue on to a new battle in Radical Red, a double battle against Adamant's Ariana and Archer. On paper, their teams are horrifying, as they have the king of double battles in Cinnamor, along with 2 Megas and a Goldango. To make matters worse, this is a double battle with Brandon on our side, so we can only bring 3 Pokemon and we have to rely on him not ruining the fight. We take Garfield, Legend, and Meta, and we go into this very scary battle. They lead Incineroar and Gothitelle, and we get intimidated while Brandon's Masquerain intimidates them, but Gothitelle actually gets a special attack boost from it thanks to her competitive ability. Thanks, Brendan. Incineroar and Gothitelle both attack Masquerain, allowing me to go for an Earthquake into Billsome. The next turn, Masquerain takes out the Incineroar with the Scald, and he falls to Gothitelle right after. Primarina comes in, and I flip turn to Metagross while the Sceptile takes out the Gothitelle, bringing in Goldango. Sceptile uses a Mega Drain on Primarina, and combined with my Thunder Punch, it takes her out, while Goldango kills the Sceptile with a Make It Rain. This brings in Brennan's last Pokemon. Mawile enters and Mega Evolves, and Goldango hits Metagross with a Shadow Ball, nearly killing him. A Flamethrower from Explode combined with a Meteor Mash takes the Mawile out before it can move, and I switched to Torterra to take another Shadow Ball. It was important that I defeated all of Ariana's Pokemon first so we weren't stuck on the field with 2 Megas at the same time. Goldango gets taken out by Explode after doing a lot of damage to us with Make It Rains, but I use Synthesize in the last turn before he dies, which heals Torterra to basically full thanks to self-sufficient. Mega Houndoom comes in and uses a Heat Wave, and while Explode dies, Torterra lives on red. He takes the Houndoom out with a single Earthquake. I knew he was a good starter choice. Round 2, the boss man Giovanni is next, and you would think his team would be similar, but no. This team is extremely dangerous, and the only Pokemon he kept from the previous battle is his Mega Kangaskhan, of course. Giovanni built his tanky sand team based around Hippowdon setting up the sand, and then an Excadrill Garchomp combo to take down his enemies. Mega Kangaskhan is also a massive threat still, of course, and in the back is a tanky leftovers Garganacl, combined with a White Herb, Shell Smash, Torterra. I did not have great solutions for this team, so I have to play very careful or I will wipe here. I walk up to Giovanni, and we begin the battle, leading Blastoise against his Hippowdon. After a fake out, I use a Rain Dance to get rid of the Sandstorm while he uses a Stealth Rock. A Scald quickly takes the Hippowdon out, and I don't have to worry about the sand or any sand abilities now. Kangaskhan enters and Mega Evolves while I switch to Diva, fake outing me for a lot of damage. He uses a Body Slam next turn, and after the second hit, I live on 8 HP. And Ambor uses a jump kick with 1-shots to Kangaskhan. That was clutch. Torterra comes in and I switch to Knight, who gets hit by a Wood Hammer. And Torterra goes for a Shell Smash while using his White Herb in the process, and my X-Scissor barely misses a kill. I don't want to switch into another Pokemon as his Torterra can certainly damage or kill anything I switch into with 2 hits. So I keep Knight in, and he dies like a true Knight. I send in Lapras and go for an Ice Beam, killing Torterra after barely living a Wood Hammer. And I send in my own Torterra, who gets hit by a critical hit Iron Head on switching. My Earthquake takes him down to his 1 HP Sash as the Excadrill uses a Sword Dance, putting me in more trouble. I know he's faster than Legend and will kill it, but it's the same situation as Excadrill can kill the entire rest of my team with his power. So I send in my Embor, who dies honorably to the spikes, allowing me to get a free switch in to Blastoise and kill the Excadrill with a fake out. Garchomp uses a Sword Dance while my Icy Wind lowers his speed, and a second Icy Wind doesn't kill, allowing Garchomp to kill a third Pokemon of mine. Frustrated, I send in Metagross to kill Garchomp and Garganacl in the back. We won the battle, but we lost some amazing Pokemon, which is going to make this run a lot harder. After Giovanni, I decided to go cash out another red shard due to losing both Cinderace and now Imbar. Using my Pallet Town encounter to hat tip away Coco. Next I go back to Saffron as I realize we can catch our first Mega of the run by walking up to this kid and telling him that we do not like Mudkips, and defeating him in an actually pretty challenging battle. After you show him that you have a Swampert, he will give you the Mega Stone. With Mega Swampert achieved, we should take care of Sabrina so we can progress through the game slightly normal again. Her gym is open, and the route to her without battling a single trainer is still a thing, so we abuse it and we make our way to her. Sabrina is running a Trick Room team, using Hatterene to set it up and Indeedee to set up Psychic Terrain so they could spam Expanding Force. She has a Brute Bonnet with Spore, which we have to be careful of, and 2 heavy hitters, a Flame Orb Ursaluna along with a Mega Gardevoir. It's also a double battle, meaning we could potentially abuse the AI. She leads Hatterene and Indeedee into Garfield and meta, setting up Psychic Terrain. I use a Meteor Mesh into Hatterene, killing her immediately so she never gets off Trick Room, and Dino uses an Overheat on Indeedee to lower her a lot. Indeedee gets off an Expanding Force due to not dying, taking half of my Dino's health while it does nothing to Metagross. Porygon 2 comes in and I switch Skeletorge out for Lapras while hitting Porygon with the Hammer Arm, bringing him down to yellow. Indeedee hits Metagross with a Shadow Ball next, and Porygon does set up the Trick Room in the end. The next turn my Lapras uses a Dragon Pulse to kill the Indeedee as it's a Dragon type in this game, and Porygon teleports out, switching into Gardevoir, along with the Brute Bonnet who replaced Indeedee. I switch out Metagross for Swampert as Gardevoir Mega Evolves. Brute Bonnet hits Lapras for big damage, but Lapras gets a Toxic off on the Gardevoir after. I switch out Swampert to Torterra, who takes a Leaf Bleed and a Shadow Ball and still lives, while Lapras gets another Toxic off on Brute Bonnet. I go for a double Protect the next turn so they both get chipped by Poison and the Trick Room ends. Now, I do a double switch to Garfield and Steakhouse as I know the Gardevoir is 100% going to go for a Trick Room, allowing me to switch in for almost no damage. I Mega Evolve Garfield but protected to avoid the Leaf Blade and a Shadow Ball, and then Steakhouse Giga impacts the Brute Bonnet to death. Psychic Terrain expires and I go for an Earthquake to finally kill this Gardevoir and almost kill the Porygon. Ursaluna enters and I switch out Steakhouse to Metagross, who barely lives a Thunderbolt on switch in while Ursaluna protected. The flip turn kills the Porygon and I go to an already wounded Torterra. Luckily, it's now a 2 against 1, so I protected Torterra to damage the Ursaluna with the Hammer Arm. Next turn Trick Room ends, so I can just kill the Ursaluna with the Seed Bomb, as I'm faster. And we win the battle with no deaths. With Sabrina down, we can finally progress to Fuchsia City, but it's not going to be easy. Whether you decide to take the biker route 16, 17, and 18, or down the shore with routes 12 and 13 into 14 and 15, every single trainer along these routes have been turned essentially into a gauntlet. Teams of 4 Pokemon that are all threatening to end your run if you are not careful, including some back-to-back fights without any healing in between. I decided to take the biker way and get to work defeating 3 of them at the start in a no healing gauntlet. I forgot to mention, there's permanent weather effects for every single one of these battles, making them even more difficult. For example, the bikers have Sandstorm and Pokemon based around it such as Sandrush, Cacturne, and a Houndstone. The last biker before Route 17 is the hardest as it's packing a team of 5 with 2 Sand ability Pokemon and a Mega Beedrill, with a Greninja for sweeping. Situations like this are why we pick Metagross as he takes care of most of the Pokemon in this team, with Swampert eliminating the other half. We make it down Route 17 and catch a Grumpig, and we continue on with the last of this gauntlet and Permanent Rain on Route 18. After defeating the last of the trainers, Fuchsia City is finally here. We head to the Pokemon Center to meet a scientist that gives us a random egg, which hatches into a Civi de Duo, which could be useful. At this point in the run, I'm at a point I really need some good encounters as we're slowly running out of encounters, and I have lost a lot of good Pokemon this run that my box isn't looking great for the Elite Four, or for the rest of the run in general. I go to the Safari Zone, but while entering, we're stopped by Brendan for the first time in a while, and he's packing a team of 6 Pokemon now. I lead Bleach against Metagross and set up the Sun with Drought. His Metagross goes for an Earthquake, taking Torkoal down to half HP, and my Torkoal hits him with a Heat Wave, taking him down in a single hit thanks to the Sun boosting it. Medicham enters, and I switch to Dino, who's immune to close combat, and we go for a Yawn. The Medicham switches out into Exploud, who eats the Yawn, and I switch to Steakhouse. Exploud falls asleep, he switches to Sceptile, who I Toxic. Sceptile Mega evolves and then goes for a Sword Dance, and I try to chip him with a Crunch, but he's half HP after the Poison still. I protect to proc some more Poison, and then we switch to Boba, who's immune to his Dual Chop. And then I switch to Torterra, who takes an Earthquake, and Sceptile finally dies to the Poison. Medicham comes back in, I send in Boba, who completely walls her and takes her out with a critical hit, Play Rough. Gardevoir is next, and Metagross takes her out with a Meteor Mash. His Crawdaunt falls to a single Meteor Mash as well, and Exploud comes in sleeping, so he suffers the same fate, but with a Hammer Arm, winning us the battle. The Safari Zone gives us a Tauros, and we head to Koga's gym. Only to find that when we try to enter the gym, it's not open and we should rematch some gym leaders? It turns out that in Radical Red, in order to fight the 6th gym, we must rematch 3 of the first 4 gym leaders and beat them. This game really doesn't want you to fight Koga, I guess. First Sabrina being required, and now this. So I fly back to Pewter Town and walk back to Brock's gym, eager to start this little gym gauntlet. Like every single team from now on, Brock's team is very strong. He has the Paradox Pokemon Great Tusk with the booster energy to set up its photosynthesis, a weakness policy Tyranitar, a very tanky but hard-hitting Ursaluna Blood Moon, and a Mega Aerodactyl that is speedy and strong enough to wipe an entire team. On top of it all, I had some permanent Sandstorm, but that's the least of our worries. We plan for a bit, and then we go into the rematch. He leads Great Tusk into my Metagross, and I switch immediately into Torterra to take a headlong rush. The Tusk sets up Stealth Rocks right before he falls to a critical hit Seed Bomb, and Tyranitar comes in and Dragon Dances while I Leech Seed him. He Dragon Dances again by an Earthquake, bringing him down to red right before the Leech Seed kills him, letting us not have to worry about his weakness policy. Ursaluna enters and uses a Blood Moon, but our tanky Torterra tanks it and hits him with the Seed Bomb. I protect to heal more, and then we switch to Metagross, who takes barely any damage from a Hyper Voice. A Hammer Arm takes the Ursaluna out, and an Omastar enters. He uses a Shell Smash to buff himself, but my Hammer Arm takes him out. Bring an Arcanine in, and I switch to Garfield to take the Flare Blitz, and Mega Evolve to take the Arcanine to his Focus Sash with an Earthquake. He head smashes me one last time, bringing me down to red, and I kill him with the Flip Turn. We bring in Lapras against his final Pokemon, Aerodactyl. He Dragon Dances and I Parashong, and all I have to do is live for 3 turns. He goes for another Dragon Dance, and I project the next turn, and I switch to Dreadnought to take the last hit before Aerodactyl falls to a Parashong, winning us the first rematch. Next is Misty. Misty is rocking a rain team with permanent rain to help her. While she does have a Mega Gyarados, her biggest threats in my opinion are the Palafin that can turn into a killer late in the battle, and a Swift Swim Kindra that will move before everything we have in the rain. There's also a bulky Leftovers or Caledon that if you watched any VGC, you know that it thrives in rain teams. I prepare my own team to abuse in the rain, and we walk up to many of your childhood's favorite character, Misty. She leads Palafin into Torterra, and uses a Flip Turn right off the bat into my Torterra, sending in Gourboyce, who nearly dies from my Seed Bomb. I switch to Zoomerl in to take an Ice Beam, and he gets frostbited. I then go for an Aqua Jet, but the Gourboyce switches out into the new strong Palafin. We send in Jelly with the Water Absorb ability to make sure that his Wave Crash is useless. Palafin switches out after realizing he can't do anything, and Gyarados enters. I send Lapras in against the Dragon Dancing Gyarados, and we Toxic him. With the Dragon Pulse and a Protect, the Gyarados goes down to red thanks to the poison, and I switch in Torterra to take a big crunch. After a Protect, Gyarados falls to the poison and Palafin comes back in. We send in Jelly once again to wall him, and he switches out to Arcaladon. I send Garfield in response, and we Mega Evolve Earthquake to take this Arcaladon right out of the battle. Kendra enters and Snipe Shots us, and then we chip him down with an Earthquake. With Garfield getting too low, I switch in Bulba, and he quickly switches to Palafin. Have you noticed how annoying the Radical Red AI is yet? We send Jelly in again, and for some reason he decides to stay in despite not being able to hit us with a single one of his moves, chipping him down to low yellow. And right when we're about to kill the Palafin, he switches out into Ferrothorn. I send a Metagross to take care of him with 2 Hammer Arms, and the 1 HP Gourboyce enters after. I send Jelly once more and kill Gourboyce with a Hex. Palafin enters once again but cannot touch Jelly, so she kills him as well. The wounded Kinder comes back in, but he barely does any damage to Jelly, so she takes him out with 2 Hexes, winning us the battle. Every Pokemon can work if they have the right abilities and typing, just like Jelly did here. For the last rematch, we get to choose between Surge and Erika, and truthfully, this was an easy choice. With a lack of fire Pokemon now, and not wanting to fight a literal legendary, I choose to go for Surge's team. His team is based around electric terrain, and he also has a Paradox Pokemon like Brock and a lot of strong, tanky, bursty hitters. He starts with Iron Treads and I lead with Garfield, who's immune to electric. I Mega Evolve and 2 Earthquakes quickly take it down, bringing in Rotom Wash. He scouts us as we flip turn into Metagross, but the next turn he goes for a Volt Switch and it critical hits, bringing Metagross all the way down to yellow. Battle Ball enters and we use the Hammer Arm to get him to half HP, and then we switch to our Civi Dordrio, who's immune to electric, making a Parabolic Charge useless. I use a Headlong Rush to kill him, and Surge brings back in the Rotom. We switch in Lapras, who has the Water Absorb ability for this Pokemon alone, and she tanks a Rising Voltage to Toxic the Rotom. After a Protect and a switch to Muck, the Rotom is still alive at a single HP, but a Sucker Punch takes him out. Iron Hands comes in, and I switch to Metaphor, who kills it with 2 Bone Rushes thanks to some lucky rolls, and Surge's Pawmot comes in. I use a Flare Blitz, leaving an Ice Punch at 4 HP before hitting it and killing the Pawmot immediately. Metaphor dies from the recoil, but he did his job well. Nextra comes in, and Mega Evolves, but it's not enough as 2 Headlong Rushes take it down, while Twin lives at 9 HP. Winning us the battle. With the rematch gauntlet out of the way, the final boss Koga's gym finally opens to us. So I fly back to Fuchsia and enter the gym, and we battle through his soldiers to the end. Koga's team is built around speed and killing you quickly, as his team is absurdly fast. Each one of these Pokemon can kill your Pokemon in several ways, with key threats being a Battle Bond, Life Orb, Greninja, and a Mega Toxtricity, while also having a Drapion that only knows Wicked Blow and Cross Poison to ensure that you die. We go and we start the battle against the gym leader that I've been wanting to fight forever. Metagross starts against Swallow, and we take it out with a single Meteor Mash after being hit by a Boom Burst. Drapion enters and I switch to Host, who takes a Wicked Blow, and I use Knockoff to get rid of his Choice Scarf and switch to Boba. Drapion lowers us to red with Cross Poisons, and a Wicked Blow does kill our trusty Azumarill, but it was planned, as she needed to do do as much damage as she could so that Garfield can come in to Mega Evolve and finish off the Drapion with an Earthquake. Excelgor comes in because he sees a kill with Bug Buzz, so I switch to Dino to tank it and use a Yawn as he U-turns into Greninja, who eats the Yawn. I switch into Torterra and we kill the Greninja with a single Seed Bomb after he falls asleep, and the Iron Valiant comes in. She knocks off my leftovers, but we lead seed her anyway, and we lower her down a bit before killing her with an Earthquake. The Excelgor comes in again, so we switch to Dino once again, and he turns into the Toxicity. He Mega Evolves and uses an Overdrive, which we barely live, and we Yawn him in response. I switch to Metagross, who takes a critical hidden power well, and the Toxicity falls asleep. This lets us kill it with a single Sen Headbutt, bringing back in his Excelgor, and once again, I found myself in a situation where he can kill any of my Pokemon on switch-in, and he's faster than Metagross. So, as usual, I need to sacrifice a Pokemon to get a free switch-in, and that Pokemon is Muck. He comes in and dies honorably, so Garfield can come in and kill him with a Flip Turn. 2 deaths in that fight, and our box of Pokemon is getting even lower. But to give you some good news, we now have Surf and can finally move on and explore. I head over to Route 15 to finally use my encounter, and we find it Among Us, a great defensive Pokemon all around. We head up the route a bit to Route 14, and we catch a Pelipper next, giving us a Rain Setter. With both him and Torkoal, we can potentially make some nice weather-abusing teams. Up north, we go to Route 13, and we find a Talonflame, another great pickup. Flying back and surfing around, we get to the power point where we catch a Togedemaru, and then we trail the sea of Route 19 and catch a Lumineon, a Pokemon that I wish was stronger. Flying to Pallet Town, we go to Route 21 and fish up a Magikarp, something I probably should have done way earlier. We sail south to Cinnabar Island and go surfing on the right to Route 20, where we catch a Sharpedo. Lastly, we continue right to Seafoam Islands, where we find a Sneasel that I named Direclaw. With our box slightly refilled with some decent encounters, we can continue back to Cinnabar Island. We go to the mansion, but when entering, we're stopped by May, who challenges us to a fight out of nowhere. I lead Dundee against Solrock and he immediately explodes, almost killing Dundee in the process. Her Flygon comes in and I switch to Sus, who eats a Draco Meteor quite well, living at half HP. This sets up Garfield to come in on an Earthquake and Mega Evolve Flip Turn to lower him to red. I send in Legend to finish the Flygon off, but he takes a lot of damage in the process. Breloom enters the battlefield and I protect the heal up and then Earthquake him a ton of times as he falls, because Breloom actually has nothing to kill Legend. A very dangerous Blaziken comes in and I'm forced to switch to Dundee again to set up the rain, as I have to kill this thing fast before it wrecks up Speed Boost in its Mega Form. He Mega Evolves and kills my Pelipper already, losing us our Rain Setter for the rest of the run in his first battle. I send in Big 6 right after and avenge Dundee, one shot into Blaziken. Relicanth enters, so I switch to Legend to take a Waterfall at very low health, and then switch to Among Us, who lives at 6 HP, gets a Spore off. And we finally switch to Garfield to kill his Relicanth with 2 Earthquakes. May's final Pokemon Manectric enters next, but it stands no chance against Garfield, and we defeat May. The door to the mansion is open now, so we go in, and even if it isn't the strongest, we catch a much needed Fire-type Pokemon, a Rapidash. We finish the mansion by getting the key to Blaine's gym, and we head out. Now, we could do Blaine's gym, but there's something else that I want to try first. Do you remember all the way back before the first gym, I said that all of the Johto gym leaders were in the game? And yes, it is true that Falconer was the only required one. If you do choose to fight the others scattered throughout the game and beat them, they would usually just give you a Mega Stone to their ace Pokemon with a TM and call it a day. But they all have items that they give as well, and some are better than others. On Cinnabar Island, Jasmine is the 6th gym leader of Johto and is waiting in the lab. If we beat her, she would give us a Choice Band and an Assault Vest, 2 very strong items in battle. She also has a pretty easily beatable team for the Pokemon in my box, so I decided to take the risk and build a team to take her down. Her team is a bulky Steel team, and given the fact that I have plenty of Fire types now on top of some already strong Pokemon, I think that we can do this pretty swiftly. The biggest issue I see on our team is extremely fast Life Orb Durant with Hustle, an ability that reduces accuracy but buffs his attack. I plan the team and we pull up to the lab and we find Jasmine, determined to get those items. We lead Talonflame and use a Flare Blitz into the Steelix, bringing him down to half already. I click Flare Blitz again, but he switches out to Duraludon, who also falls below half thanks to our hit being a crit. I send Legend in and finish it with an Earthquake, and then Jasmine's ace Aggron comes in. But I have a trick up my sleeve. I use Leech Seed as he Mega Evolves, taking his Fire Punch in the process. I use a Protect to heal up to near max, and then switch to Bleach, who takes a Fire Punch. Next, I know he's going to go for an Earthquake, so I switch to Talonflame, who's immune to it. Now, I know he's going to use a Body Press, so I go back to Torkoal. I switch in between the two back and forth. Our Leech Seed slowly drains the Mega Aggron's health to 0, letting us kill it without attacking it once. Also, when it's about to die to Leech Seed, I switch to Legend to get the maximum amount of heal before it dies. Kevin Durant comes in next, and I switch to Bleach one more time to set up the sun. Now, I sit in Dino, and he uses a Torch Song to kill Durant, avoiding his hit. Samurott enters, but falls to a single Torch Song as well. And with my Dino now having +2 special attack with the sun up, it sweeps the entire rest of Jasmine's team, getting us our Choice Band and Assault Vest. Blaine is our last fight in Cinnabar, and as a 7th gym leader, he does everything in his power to try to stop us from advancing off this island. His gym is covered in permanent sun and he has a life orb slither wing with photosynthesis to abuse it, along with a team of deadly fire moves and chlorophyll users. His mega is Charizard Y, who thankfully still has the drought ability, making it kinda useless in this fight, but his real ace in my opinion is the legendary Ogerpon Hearthflame as support. Get used to seeing legendaries in nearly every important fight from now on, because Radical Red really doesn't want you to become a champion. I answer every quiz question right, and we go up to lane and start the battle. I lead Chop against Armarouge and Mega Evolve him to make Aquafang's power much stronger. Another one kills the Armarouge and Slither Wing enters. I set in Dino to take a not very effective Flare Blitz that still does a lot of damage thanks to the sun, but I also abuse the sun myself with a Torch Song that one hit kills the Slither Wing. Typhlosion comes in and I switch back to Balo to absorb another fire move and use a Fire Lash to lower his defense. We avoid his Focus Blast and use a Fire Lash again, lowering him even more thanks to defense drop plus a sun, and a third Fire Lash kills the Typhlosion. A legendary Ogerpon comes onto the battlefield and my Fire Lash does way more damage than I thought it would to him, bringing him down to below half. He knocks off our Assault Vest in response, but his second Fire Lash kills the Ogerpon. The sun combined with the defense drops is a scary combo. Executor comes in and I continue to use a Fire Lash, but he hits us for a Side Shock and we barely live it at 11 HP. The Fire Lash hits and the Executor barely lives it as well, putting us at a standoff. I switch Big 6 into a Giga Drain and use a Tailwind to make the team faster before taking the Executor down with a Brave Bird. Blaine's last Pokemon Charizard comes in and I switch to a Mega Dreadnought, who leads a strong Dragon Pulse on switching. I then click Head Smash, which should kill him, but Dreadnought misses, and Charizard kills him with a Solar Beam. Chop was an extremely good Pokemon that I could have brought to Elite Four, so this hurts a lot. I set in Twin to kill Charizard with 2 Fire Lashes and we win the battle, but we lost another strong Pokemon. The next section of this run has one of the hardest fights in the game in my opinion, and it's not the Ace Gym. When we head back to Viridian, we go over to the gym and we're stopped by Brendan, who tells us the Team Rocket has taken control of Cerulean Cave, where a powerful legendary awaits. He teleports us to this area that's now open and we head in. Before doing literally anything here, I head to the second floor before deactivating my repel for the encounter, as on this floor there are several powerful pickups we can get. Once I turn it off, we find an Iron Shreds, a Paradox Pokemon of her own. Now after blasting through a lot of Team Rocket members, the threat of the cave is upon us. Archer and Ariana return for one last battle, but this time it's not double battle. You must face them back to back individually, with the second battle starting right after the first. This means you can't heal your Pokemon at all until both battles are completed. The nightmare factor comes in with the fact that they both have 4 Pokemon each. This means that we have to fight 8 Pokemon back to back with no healing, and 2 of these Pokemon are Mega Evolutions. These aren't weak Pokemon either. The Life Orb Durant makes its return along with Archer's Mega Houndoom and Ariana's Mega Mawile. Archer decides to duel us first, leading his Mamoswine against Dino. Let's do this. He uses an Earthquake, bringing us to uncomfortable red HP, and my Torch Song takes him down to half. I switch to Big 6 to take an Icicle Crash, and we take him out with the Flare Blitz. Houndoom comes in, and I switch to Garfield as he Mega Evolves and poisons us on switching. Fiery Wrath takes us down to pretty low HP, but my Earthquake one-shots him, and the Poison Ticks leave us at 14 HP. Durant enters next, and I set in Twin, who kills him with a quick Fire Lash. Mimikyu is next, and I use a Fire Lash to break his disguise and kill him with another one right after he Sword Dances. 4 Pokemon down, 4 to go, but several of my Pokemon are severely wounded. The second battle against Ariana starts with her leading Hatterene, and our lead is forced to be the same as it was, so our 37 HP Dino is against her. I switch to Metagross, who takes a Psychic and one-shots the Hatterene with a Meteor Mash, bringing in her Honchkrow. Honchkrow uses a Night Slash with critical hits, and we are lucky to live at 19 HP. And our Metagross kills him with a Meteor Mash. That was extremely lucky, but now Rhyperior comes in, and while we're faster, we cannot one-shot him. I switch to my last full health Pokemon Legend, and the Woodhammer one-shots the Rhyperior, bringing in Ariana's Mawile. She Mega Evolves and Play Roughs me, leaving me at 9 HP, and while my Earthquake is super effective, it only brings her down to yellow. All of my Pokemon are in the red HP zone, and Torterra is slower than Mawile, so I decided to sacrifice Twin in order to bring in Metagross, who's faster, to kill Mawile, winning us this dangerous gauntlet. Probably had to lose a Pokemon. Losing only one in this fight is not bad, as all of my Pokemon were nearly dead. But now, we have one more fight in this cave. The final boss of this cave is the final Giovanni fight, and we have to do it in a tag team battle with Lance of the Elite Four. Just like our last tag team battle with Brendan and Silph Co, we can only bring 3 Pokemon, making this fight very risky. While Lance does have very good Pokemon of his own, this is Giovanni's team. Whenever we kill Giovanni's Mewtwo, it respawns as a Mega Mewtwo, making us have to kill it twice at full HP. I do plan to go in the fight relying on Giovanni to focus Lance, and we pick Garfield, Piglet, and Metagross to go in. This could go wrong in so many ways, but I believe. He leads Tapu Lele and Scrafty into my Metagross and Lance's Dragapult, and Dragapult starts by using a Spirit Shackle on the Tapu Lele, which one-shots him. Giovanni's Mewtwo already comes in thanks to that, and next turn Dragapult goes for some Dragon Darts before it dies to Mewtwo and Scrafty focusing it. Lance brings in his Diagla and I protect Metagross to defend him from Mewtwo's flamethrower, while Diagla body presses Scrafty to take it out. A very tanky Celesteela comes into the field, but Lance's Diagla hits it for a critical hit with flamethrower, bringing it down to barely living red HP. And also, it burns. The Mewtwo hits us with an expanding force and the Celesteela uses a meteor beam, both of which barely do any damage to us, and the Celesteela somehow falls the same turn it comes in, which is amazing. Giovanni sends out Tyranitar next and I protect Metagross as Dialga hits him with a body press, bringing him to red HP already. Mewtwo is only spamming expanding force at this point, which doesn't do anything to these two Pokemon, so next turn another body press kills the Tyranitar and the Metagross lowers the Mewtwo to yellow. Extra Deal comes in and I protect Metagross once again as Dialga hits a Dragon Pulse into Mewtwo, killing it and transforming it into the Mega Evolution. The Extra Deal kills the Dialga who's been carrying this fight and Lance sends his last Pokemon Salamence in. I switch Metagross into Piglet who takes a flamethrower and the Salamence uses a double edge on the Mewtwo, which kills it in one hit. Wow, I don't think I've ever had an AI be this useful in a game before. The Extra Deal takes out the Salamence while Piglet finishes him off with a Shy Shock, winning us the battle. A flawless fight and only one death in the entire cave gives me hope that this run can be done. After Giovanni regrets his life choices, he says goodbye for good and we can now finally fight the final gym leader. And if you haven't guessed by now, Giovanni is not the 8th gym leader in this game. It's actually Clair. I lied about Falconer being the only required gym fight from Johto for you 2 Clair fans out there, so you're welcome. Our gym has no trainers, it's just an honorable fight between the trainer and her. Well, honorable as in while she's the only gym leader that doesn't have a Mega Evolution, her Life Orb, Beast Boost, Naganadel makes up for it. Clair's team is a bully dragon based team that has a dangerous tanky Magurna in the center. Weakness policy Dragonite can also be hard to get rid of without activating the policy, and of course she has a Paradox Pokemon because even we do at this point. We lead Spicy the Gyarados against Clair's Aerodactyl, and he taunts us while my Aqua Tail breaks the Focus Sash and brings it down to 1 HP. Aerodactyl sets up Stealth Rocks and another one of my Aqua Tails kill it. Gorging Fire enters and I switch to Garfield while he Dragon Dances, and luckily he Dragon Dances again, letting us Mega Evolve and Earthquake him. We live on yellow and he switches to Roaring Moon for some reason, and he gets hit by an Earthquake, taking him down to yellow as well. He uses a Crunch but dies to another Earthquake and Clair's Dragonite comes in. We flip turn into him as he uses a Dragon Dance as well, and go to Bailu who goes in with a single play rough, avoiding his weakness policy. The tanky Magronia enters and we summon Dino as he raises her stats with Shift Gear, and then Flare Cannon takes us to yellow HP only because it's not very effective. I use a Torch Song which doesn't kill due to her bulk, but a second one does kill her. Her Ace Naganadel comes in and I really want to avoid giving her a single Beast Boost as her speed will be insane, so I switch to Legend to take a Draco Meteor and he barely lives at 28 health. That Draco Meteor lowered his special attack, so I switched to Bilo who's immune to the Draco Meteor and use a Play Rough, bringing the Naganadel down to yellow. Unfortunately, a Sludge Bomb even with the -2 special attack one-shots our Bilo, giving him a Beast Boost and losing us our only Fairy type Pokemon. And Naganadel took Life Orb damage, but it wasn't enough to kill, so I switched back to Gyarados who takes Draco Meteor easily now, and he takes it out with an Ice Fang. The Gorging Fire comes back in and Dragon Claws us, leaving us at 1 HP thankfully, and an Aqua Tail wins us the fight. We made it through all 8 gyms, and now all that's left is the Elite Four. At least if we can make it past the next 2 fights. The traditional rival fight on Route 22 before entering the badge check is still there in Radical Red, and he's upgraded his team quite a bit. The only encounter left in this game at this point is the Victory Road encounter, but we had nothing more to do but try to get through the final in-game gauntlet, and it begins with our rival spotting us and challenging us to one last battle before the Elite Four. He leads Staraptor against our Piglet and we lower him with expanding forces until switching out to Dino to try for the kill, but he switches out to Sneasler who takes the Torch Song. His Dire Claw does nothing to us and we get 2 special attack boosts and a kill. His Charizard comes in and Mega Evolves the Charizard X, hitting us for a big Earthquake before we lower him down to yellow with a Hex. Due to the Charizard being so strong with his Tough Claws ability, I need to sacrifice Piglet to get a free switch in into my own Mega in order to kill it with an Earthquake. Staraptor comes back in and U-turns us to bring in the Sandy Shocks, who I hit with an Ice Punch on switch in and he gets frostbited. He uses a pitiful Earth Power on us right before we kill him with an Earthquake, and our rival's loyal Azumarill comes in. He uses a superpower into my Torterra on switch in, who heals it right back up and kills her with a Wood Hammer. Staraptor comes back in yet again and I switch to Metagross to take a Brave Bird. He close combats us, doing a decent chunk of damage, and his Zen Headbutt kills him, bringing in the final Pokemon, King Gambit. I switch to Mayhem, and 2 Earthquakes from my Paradox Pokemon win us the fight. As I'm going through the badge check, I realize I have a chance of beating Radical Red on the first try. We're so close to the end. But remember I said we have to make it through 2 major fights before the Elite Four? Right at the entrance of Victory Road, Brendan makes his final appearance as he angrily wants to battle us. I look at his team and he decides to throw every concept of team building out the window as he has 4 legendaries on his team, which is the most on any single team in this entire game, not counting the post game. This fight can easily go wrong in many ways since he essentially has 5 sleepers and his Mega Sceptile has a Technician ability combined with Scale Shot and Bullet Seed. And don't even get me started on the Life Orb Landorus. I don't think you need me to tell you how dangerous this team team is this time, so I prepare the best team we can and I go right into it. I lead Dino into Deoxys and go for an immediate Torch Song, but he switches to Huntail, who takes the hit very well. I switch to Metagross and kill the Huntail with a Hammer Arm, and the Life Orb Landorus makes its way in. We switch Legend into an Earth Power, and next turn he hits us with a Sludge Wave for a good chunk of our health, but I do get a Leech Seed off. I Leech Seed again in case he switches, and he does into Zapdos. I protect myself from a Brave Bird for some more chip, and then go to Metagross to take a Brave Bird that certainly would have killed even our tanky Torterra. The next turn I protect again to try to get some more heal, but he switches out into Jirachi, making that an awful protect. We switch to Dino and throw a Torch Song as a Jirachi, but he switches into Sceptile, who takes that better than I thought he would. I switch to Big Six as he Mega Evolves because I know he'll Earthquake and Big Six is immune, and our own Brave Bird kills him easily. And Jirachi comes back in. I switch to Garfield, who's immune to her Thunder Punch, and this is perfect as Jirachi has a Choice Scarf, it can only use Thunder Punch now. I use 2 Earthquakes while she sadly spams Thunder Punches, killing the Legendary with ease. Zapdos comes back in and U-turns to Deoxys, who nearly dies from my Ice Punch, and uses a Psychic on us before dying to the second Ice Punch. That Psychic nearly killed me, so I have to switch into Steakhouse, and I decide to Mega Evolve Steakhouse and go for a Toxic as he Blaze Kicks us. I protect the next turn for more chip, and we switch to Dino to take the rest of the Blaze Kicks, and a Torch Song kills him, and we get a special attack boost. Brendan's Landorus comes back in, so I switch to Legend like last time and Leech Seed him while he Sludge Bombs us. We protect the healer ourselves back up to full while he slowly dies, and we kill him with the Wood Hammer, winning us this battle without a single death. That's as good as it gets. Victory Road is here, and so is our final encounter. We can get several amazing Pokemon here, such as a Fluttermane, a Salamence, an Aegislash, or even an Audino. I go into the cave and search, and we find a Hisuian and Goodra. Why not the best final encounter? It works. He has plenty of resistances and a huge amount of bulk, making him a good defensive Pokemon. While I wish it was more of an offensive Pokemon, it can prosper in the Elite Four if I use it correctly. We enter Victory Road and we storm right through it. Nothing compared to the last few fights we've had to go through. Here, we also get the Metagrossite, allowing us to finally Mega Evolve Metagross. After defeating the last Ace Trainer's stall team, we step out the cave and run to the stones to the steps of Indigo Plateau. We made it. We defeat a cameo of the creator in a meme battle, and we think this all over. Planning for the Elite Four in Radical Red, or most Pokemon run hacks, can be considered the most difficult challenge of the game. I'm not one of those people that can use a calculator to calculate literally every possibility, and I don't think I ever will be, because while I respect those who do and find them very entertaining to watch at times, it takes a lot of time. Especially when in Radical Red, each Elite Four member has 2 possible teams that they can bring. I'll get to more details as we go into the fights, but as an example, Lorelei has both a rain and a snow team. You have no idea which team you're fighting until you start the fight. Well, unless you talk to this guy before the Elite Four that tells you which Mega she has, but the other 3 Elite Four have no hints. I planned for a long time to try to make a team that could deal with every threat of the Elite Four possible, as my box isn't that good, but in the end, I proudly ended up with a team of 6. Before we head in, let me introduce you to them. Our starter Legend has made it to the Elite Four, surviving every single battle he's been in with ease. I've kept his set the same all game, a bulky leftovers self-sufficient set that can do good damage, but more importantly, if he gets a Leech Seed off on anyone, he's not dying anytime soon. I'm very happy that my favorite starter has proven his worth. Next is the other starter that's basically been with us since the start, Garfield the Swampert. He's proven over and over again to be useful in fights with his ability to switch into so many things and having a Mega that does a ton of damage. It is a given that my boy was given a spot in this team, and I hope he continues pulling through. Our next Pokemon might be unexpected, but I decided to bring Bleach the Torkoal. The weather is a very important factor in Pokemon battles, and I believe that having the weather control against Lorelei will give us an insane advantage. He is also there to deal with several of Agatha and Lantis Steel types if needed, along with having great synergy with our next Pokemon, Dino the Skeledirge. Dino's unique typing and ability allows us to snowball fights with Torch Song, making him very valuable to the team. His Unaware ability is a natural counter to any Pokemon that can lower our stats, and he's quite bulky himself. If the sun is up and he ends up in it, he can be a dangerous threat to many of the Elite Four Pokemon. Hisuian and Goodra hasn't been able to prove his worth yet, but I believe he will with the same reasons that I said when we caught him. He has amazing resistances, 3 whole abilities that we can abuse, and he can do some solid damage. It was between him and Iron Treads, but in the end I went with Goodra just because it felt safer and smarter. And our last of the 6 Pokemon, of course, is Metagross. We went all in on him, picking him up as our casino encounter, and he has not disappointed us once. He kills nearly every Pokemon he sees, has amazing resistances, and now we have his Mega Evolution. This will bring his base stat total to 700, and every stat that gets increased is a big improvement, specifically his speed. And with this team of 6, I hope to defeat Radical Red on my first try. With our preparations complete, we head into the Lion's Den and approach Lorelei. Thanks to the guy in the lobby I mentioned, we know she's going to use her snow team. I choose my leads as Lorelei's a double battle fight, and we challenge the first Elite Four to a battle. Lorelei leads Ninetales and Glaceon against Legend and Dino. I immediately switched out Legend to Bleach to set up the sun, and the reason I didn't lead him is because Ninetales uses her Aurora Veil, which fails if there's no snow, making her turn wasted. Glaceon used a Blizzard that somehow doesn't miss and hits both my Pokemon, doing half to both of them despite not being very effective, and the turn ends with my Torch Song one-shotting the Ninetales thanks to the sun. Rotom Wash comes in and I protect Bleach as the Glaceon and Rotom both focus him, giving Dino free reign to Torch Song the Glaceon and one-shot her as well, giving him his second special attack buff in the process. Lorelei sends in her Baxcalibur next, and I know they're still going to focus Bleach, so I decide to do a double swap. I swap Bleach for Garfield and Dino and Metagross, and it turns out to be perfect as Lorelei's Baxcalibur protected, and the Rotom went for a Thunderbolt which doesn't hit Garfield at all. I Mega Evolve Metagross for the first time and use a Meteor Mash in the Baxcalibur, killing it in a single hit. Lorelei sends in a Bombstone, but it doesn't matter as I switch out Garfield back to Bleach, who sets up the sun once again. Metagross one-shots the Mega Bombstone with the Meteor Mash, raising his attack again, and Lorelei's Calyrex Ice Rider comes onto the field. But this doesn't matter as our Metagross has so many attack buffs that in his Mega form, he one-shots Calyrex with the Meteor Mash. Rotom attacked my protected Bleach once again, and the next turn dies to another Meteor Mash, winning us the first Elite Four in style as we one-shot every single Pokemon she had. That was an amazing start. Bruno is next, and he certainly would not be as smooth as Lorelei was, especially considering we don't know which team he's bringing. Both of his teams feature a Mega Lucario, but more importantly, a Zacian crowned. This Pokemon can sweep teams just as easy as he did in the Sword and Shield era, and while he's one of my favorite legendaries of all time, he's a menace to play against. Both of Bruno's teams also feature a Booster Energy Iron Valiant that does more damage than you think it does, and they even have different sets of moves depending on the team that he brings. You will also see an Urshifu, and the version of him depends on the team. We would really like to see Bruno bring his second team, which is led by Infernape, as the first team leads Great Tusk, an annoyingly to play against combined with the fact that it would mean we have to play against Water Urshifu and Iron Hands. I pick my best lead into both of them, which is Garfield, and we start the battle, seeing Bruno lead Infernape, which gives me a sigh of relief. He sets up Stealth Rocks and taunts us, but 2 liquidations kill him, getting rid of his first Pokemon quick. Bruno sends in Coma O and uses Clangor's Soul, which buffs him like crazy, but he eats my flip turn, letting me switch to Metagross for free. I Mega Evolve him and use Zen Headbutt to kill the Coma O because he used another Clangor's Soul, and the scary Zacian enters. And luckily, I have a plan by switching to Bleach to set up the sun while he Sword Dances. Zacian uses a close combat on me the next turn, but the Torkoal is so bulky that he lives at 44 HP from a +2 attack Zacian. And a sun boosted Heat Wave one-shots the legendary dog, thanks to him lowering his defense from close combat. It's not over yet though, as a similarly dangerous Urshifu enters the field. I switch to Garfield for free as he sucker punches and then use an Earthquake into him, which takes him down to 75%. The Urshifu uses Sword Dance, which is very scary as I know he can kill almost anything in my team now. I take a chance and I send in Metagross to take a close combat, and he watches his health bar drops down, but it stops at 11 HP. If he died there, the run would have 100% been over, but thankfully he's faster than Urshifu and a Meteor Arm kills him. Bruno's Iron Valiant comes in and I switch to Goodra, who takes an Aura Spear nicely. I use a Flash Cannon, but he switches as it would have killed Iron Valiant and it's not very effective on Lucario. He Mega Evolves and uses a close combat, but I switch to Dino, who's immune to it. The following turn, he goes for a Meteor Mash, which does barely anything, and my Torch Song kills a Lucario. Bruno's Iron Valiant makes his way back in, and I go to Legend. We lead seed her, and I slowly but surely drain her with an Earthquake and protects until she dies to a final Leech Seed proc, winning us our second Elite Four match. I'd say both Lorelei and Bruno's fights were pretty clean, but the worst is yet to come. Both of Agatha's teams are speedy and full of Pokemon that you need to be careful of, as underestimating any of them will be your demise. Her ace on both teams is a Mega Gengar with a Shadow tag, trapping whatever Pokemon we have on the field with it, and she also has a Make It Rain Goldango, a Technician Marshadow, and some form of Zoroark on either team. Where her team differs is she has one Paradox Pokemon and one of the Ruination legendaries, and I really want her to bring her first team because while she has a Chi-Yu and a Roaring Moon, I prefer this over Chen-Pao and extremely fast Flutter Mane any day. We face down Agatha and we start the battle, leading Garfield against her Gengar. A liquidation reveals its true form to be as the base form Zoroark, meaning she used her second team, the one I didn't want to see. There's nothing we can do about it, so we flip turn to secure the first kill and switch into Bleach, who sets up the sun. Marshadow enters and bulks up as I Heat Wave her, which brings her down to yellow. The next turn she close combats us, but seeing as I lived a close combat from that Zacian, I'm not scared. A second Heat Wave kills the Marshadow quick. Agatha sends in her Flutter Mane and I go to Icarus to take a Shadow Ball. She uses a Moonblast, which does good damage to Icarus, and my Flash Cannon brings her down to half. She uses another Moonblast, but my tanky Icarus lives at 33 HP, and another Flash Cannon kills the speedy Flutter Mane. Goldango comes in, and I switch to Legend, and after taking a hit, we go to Torkoal. I see Nasty Plots. I go for a Heat Wave to try to kill him, but Goldango's Nasty Plot buff to Make It Rain kills my Torkoal, which sucks a lot. I didn't see any other way to switch any other Pokemon to this without dying, so that was my safest bet. Sorry Torkoal, this is gonna be a rough battle without you. Dino comes in and we barely live at 34 HP from a Shadow Ball, and we use the sun to kill Goldangle with a Torch Song. The True Gengar comes in and I go to Metagross before he Mega Evolves, which traps our Metagross in with him, and his Sludge Bomb doesn't affect us. The Gengar shoots out a Shadow Ball, and I close my eyes as Metagross's health goes down, but stops at 16 HP. Way too close. We hit him with a Zen Headbutt in return, killing him and bringing in her final Pokemon, Chien-Pao. I switch to Garfield, who falls to half HP on switching already. I go for a flip turn, praying we live the hit. And we do, and I switch to Dino. Chien-Pao goes first again and uses an Ice Shard, but even if we are 34 HP, our Assault Vest Dino somehow lives at 3 HP, and we kill Chien-Pao with a Torch Song. That battle was way too close for my liking, and we even lost our Torkoal. Nearly all of our Pokemon barely lived, but we have to continue. I heal them all up and I look at the next teams, and I'm not pleased. Lance's teams are nearly identical, with the only difference being the leads of the two teams in the Dragonite sets. And no matter which team we get, this is gonna be hard. He's packing 4 Dragon Pokemon and we don't have a Fairy type to easily deal with them, and Iron Juggless's Dark type and Coverage moves make Metagross useless into him. Of the 4 Dragon types, his Mega Salamence with Aeolite has the ability to sweep teams with ease, and Radical Red added a Primal Dialga form, with an ability that reduces super effective damage against him by 50%. If used right, that thing is unkillable. To make matters worse, Torkoal was my answer to several Pokemon in this battle, but now that he's gone, we have to improvise. The final Elite Four member awaits us, and he's the last trainer in the Way of the Champion. We take the long hallway to him, and we start the scariest battle yet. I lead Garfield into Aerodactyl and use a liquidation to break his focus Shesh. He switches Aerodactyl into his Dragonite, who gets hit by my own flip turn, letting me switch into Icarus. He Dragon Dances while I Toxic him, and the next turn I Protect, lowering him a bit. Next I switch to Legend to take an Earthquake, and Legend protects as well, healing up the damage. We switch to Goodra one more time, and after another Protect, the Dragonite dies from the poison. Melmetal comes in next, and I swap to Garfield. We use an Earthquake, taking him down to half, and he uses a double Iron Bash, which hits us twice and leaves us at 29 health. Another Earthquake kills, and Lance's signature Salamence enters the battlefield. I switch to Icarus while he Mega Evolves, and Aeolite makes his double edge a flying type, which we now resist. Another hit would kill Icarus, so I do a quick switch to Legend to take an Earthquake and Protect to heal the full. But seeing as a double edge which is now flying and boosted will certainly kill Legend, and knowing Icarus is already low, I send him back in to take the hit and he falls. Another Pokemon down. I switch to Metagross and Mega Evolve him, and his Zen Headbutt takes him down to yellow and makes him flinch. Another one kills the terrifying Salamence, and then he sends in his Iron Juggless. And here I have to admit, Iron Juggless is faster than my entire team. So if Metagross doesn't live this and kill, he will die. I use the Hammer Arm, and the Iron Juggless uses a Dark Hole, Darkrai's signature move that has 100 base power in this game. It hits, and Metagross falls to 0 health. I switch to Legend, and the Iron Juggless uses an Aeroblast, which one-shots Legend. I send Dino in, but the Iron Juggless has an Earth power of course, and he suffers the same fate. Garfield comes in, and sadly, cannot finish the job. Nuzlockes are brutal. It takes one unplanned death or wrong switch for the entire run to end just like that. Yes, I would say I was unlucky with my encounters, but I can also say that I made a lot of mistakes this run. I let many Pokemon die that could have probably been saved, and if I'm being honest, I knew I overlooked Iron Juggless the moment I got to Lance. I had no answer for that thing. When this run ended, I was upset. I mean, it ended one fight before the champion, and I was so close to beating it on my first attempt. I brought nothing but weaknesses into Iron Juggless, and I didn't find a way to make my one Paradox Pokemon work. I didn't want to play any more Radical Red for a while, and I didn't. But, while making this video to show the cruel reality of some Nuzlockes, a spark lit in me. I was so close. I had the skill to get almost all the way, and if only a few things went differently, or I made a few different choices and planned some fights better, I'd be a champion. If I just gave up, I wouldn't be working towards the Nuzlocker that I wanted to be. I have to admit that I'm very proud of this run. I learned a lot about the game and how to get better, but most importantly, it made me realize something. Something that I knew from the moment that I wiped to Iron Juggless. This challenge is not yet over.